I wanted to take a moment in this last session preparing for Rosh Hashanah to address a very fundamental issue of what's the benefit of Rosh Hashanah. So many people have speculated there's a benefit. Uh, person needs to know that he's being judged, and there's a benefit to knowing that what person's being judged. And I would like to suggest that the benefit is thinking about Hashem. Let me take a step back to explain what I mean by that. Hashem made the world so that he could allow others to be close to him. That's why Hashem made the world. That his goodness would not be only within himself, so to speak. It wouldn't be this absolute goodness within himself, but he would bestow to his creations the ability to come close to that goodness. And that's the greatest kindness that could ever be afforded. A person who's very egocentric probably thinks the same way, that they bless people by letting them be close to them, and that would be a narcissistic personality disorder. Like I kindly let you come close to me because I am the ultimate source of goodness. But in the case of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that really is what prompted Hashem to make the world, so that his goodness would be manifest, he would be meitiv, and the greatest hatova, and this, you need to get this sort of sorted out in your head, that the greatest hatova that Hashem could provide is to allow his creations to have a dvekus, to have a closeness to him. And if that sounds rather egocentric, it's because Hashem malach geus lavesh. He is the only one about whom it can be said that it is the ultimate good to be close to him. So you need to work that through, because without that basic premise, nothing else in the world makes sense. The basic premise of that the greatest tova that Hashem can do is to give us the ability to be close to him. And that in all of the different ways that we can be close to him, by knowing his glory, by seeing his miracles, by being amazed at the complexity of his creation, by appreciating the gifts that he gives us, by appreciating the fact that he sends people who love us. There's a zillion ways that we can be close to Hashem, but they all require one basic thing, that in order for that goodness to be manifest, we need to think about Hashem. And we need to yearn for that closeness. So whether the closeness is coming because a person is celebrating a miracle that Hashem did, or the proximity is coming because Hashem allows us to know that he is the judge, and that he judges mankind, and he gives mankind the opportunity to come closer to him. Without that in the system, if you would imagine what the year would look like, or what a person's life would look like, you would recognize that the person would just slip further and further away from a consciousness of the one thing that is good for him, which is closeness to Hashem. So it would just be a matter of time before it would slip out of the person's consciousness entirely. And then the reason for creation would be frustrated, would be lost. Because since the reason for creation is in order to give us the opportunity to be close to Him, if we would fail to ever think about our relationship with Hashem, then the purpose of creation is undone, becomes, so to speak, a waste. And the occasion of Rosh Hashanah, more than anything else, is just to acknowledge our relationship with Hashem. So it doesn't matter so much if a person draws his closeness from miracles, draws his closeness from the fact that he's asking Hashem, draws the closeness from the fact that he is shaking with fear because he recognizes that he might not be living up to the expectations or the potential that he brings, that he was granted. Whatever it is aligning the person with the goodness that is Hashem, and therefore the reason for creation. So when we say Hayom Haras Olam, today the world is created. Now, it's not altogether clear that the world was created in Tishrei. That's a dispute. It's machlokes, whether the world was created in Nisan, created in Tishrei. That the issue is not today the world was created. Today the world is created because the purpose and meaning and rationale for creating the world is happening today. Hayom Yamid Bamishpat Ho Yitzurei Olamim. Hashem is going to be the judge. Well, that implies an engagement of Hashem in our lives. And that is supposed to elevate us. That's supposed to give us a sense of closeness. That's supposed to be a cause of celebration. It's not the celebration that we associate with the festivals that mark miracles. It's the elevation of awareness that we have a relationship with Hashem. And it is that intimacy that is the core of what we're supposed to be looking at and looking for on Rosh Hashanah. So the issue is not so much, did I do everything right? Did I not do everything right? The fact that I am thinking about my relationship with Hashem is already an upgrade from a regular day. And it is such a significant upgrade that it's legitimate to refer to it as the creation of the world. It is the creation of the world whenever we align ourselves with the reason that the world was created. So you could say that every time a person makes a bracha and acknowledges that what he's about to eat comes from Hashem, you could say, today the world was created. But although that is spread out throughout the year, there is a high watermark. The high watermark is Rosh Hashanah, where a person's consciousness of Hashem in this hatova, in this kindness that he did by granting us a relationship with and a proximity to himself, that reaches the high watermark on Rosh Hashanah. So from a spiritual standpoint, you're exercising and flexing the muscle of recognizing what this whole story is about. And that's why it can be called Hayom Haras Olam. It's the birth or the conception of the world, because the people who were the reason for why the world was created are stopping to acknowledge that this is the ultimate good news. The good news is that we are able to think about Hashem and acknowledge His kingship, to acknowledge our relationship with Him, to move forward or strengthen the muscles of that relationship. It's, as I said, way too easy to lose track because it doesn't seem as though everything that we do in our world is connected to Hashem. It seems as though it's connected to our physical surroundings, to ourself, to our physical being. It's quite a challenge to acknowledge or to recognize that everything is associated with and is directly a product of his will. That is, you have to pause to do that. That's one of the reasons why it is explained why we cover our eyes when we proclaim the Shema Yisrael. We cover our eyes because there's nothing in our physical surroundings that is particularly useful for making this connection with Hashem, for recognizing his role, for recognizing all of his involvement in our lives. For that, you need to close your eyes. For that, you need to shut out. So if you would imagine it for a moment, it's 48 hours of Shema. And if you just think of it as, what am I supposed to be thinking about? And the answer is, it's 48 hours of saying Kriya Shema. And the hope is that when we emerge from Rosh Hashanah, we have strengthened that muscle so that it will carry us through Hashanah Tova U'Mesuka.